morning. It's April 25th here in Seoul, and I'm Kim Dami. We begin with these stories making the headlines at this hour, starting with President Yoon Suk-yeol's state visit to the U.S. The South Korean president is in Washington, D.C. to mark the occasion of the 70th anniversary of the Seoul-Washington alliance. He'll sit down for summit talks with his American counterpart Joe Biden on Wednesday and address Congress the next day. Also expected out of the summit is Washington's security commitment to Seoul. Yoon and Biden are set to announce major deliverables on ways to strengthen the U.S. extended deterrence commitment to South Korea. And South Korea evacuates 28 of its nationals from Sudan by military aircraft. The U.S. says Sudanese factions agreed to a 72-hour ceasefire. President Yoon Suk-yeol landed in Washington, D.C. on Monday local time, beginning his itinerary through which he aims to bring the South Korean and American societies closer together. Our correspondent Oh Soo-young, who is traveling with the president, reports from the U.S. Capitol.
As the self-professed #1 salesman of South Korea, President Yoon Suk-yeol hit the ground running in Washington, D.C. on Monday afternoon, securing an investment of some $2.5 billion by global content platform Netflix in a meeting with the firm's CEO Ted Sarandos.
이번 투자는 대한민국 콘텐츠 산업과 창작자 그리고 넷플릭스 모두에게 큰 기회가 될 것입니다. 넷플릭스의 파격적인 투자 결정을 진심으로 환영합니다.
The investment will be used for creating Korean content over a stretch of 4 years.
I have no doubt that our investment will strengthen our long-term partnership with Korea and Korea's creative ecosystem. We are deepening our partnership with the Korea creative industry, which has produced such amazing hits as Squid Game, The Glory, Physical 100. With the partnership, we will continue to grow with the local industry while sharing the joy of entertainment with Korean storytellers and their fans around the world.
This comes as part of Yoon's mission to broaden and deepen bilateral ties in areas beyond traditional security. Stepping off Air Force One, President Yoon Suk-yeol began a state visit to the United States on Monday, showing how the two countries' relations have evolved over the past 70 years, from the Mutual Defense Treaty in 1953 to a much broader economic, cultural and technological cooperation. The theme of his stateside visit is the alliance in action towards the future. During a summit with President Joe Biden on Wednesday, the two leaders will not only address security issues to deter against North Korea's growing nuclear and missile threats, they are also expected to discuss ways to address a host of shared challenges and opportunities, with the goal of improving economic security through value-based cooperation. On that note, Yoon will attend events to foster partnerships in key strategic areas, including an investment forum and business roundtable focusing on advanced technologies, and a video content forum hosted by the Motion Picture Association. Going beyond the usual diplomatic outreach, the president will aim to encourage closer people-to-people exchanges across various sectors of society, speaking with not only state dignitaries, local politicians and business leaders, but also academics, scientists and students. U.S. senators on Monday welcomed the South Korean president's arrival with a resolution proposal, endorsing efforts to turn the state visit into a chance to further strengthen the alliance. The bipartisan resolution is expected to be up for a vote on Tuesday. During his time in the land of the free, Yoon will emphasize the two societies' shared values of freedom, liberal democracy and human rights as the basis of their ever-tightening alliance. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News, Washington, D.C.
And we can also expect President Yoon and Biden to announce a host of new deals, with a statement on extended deterrence likely. According to U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan on Monday, the two leaders will announce major deliverables, including extended deterrence, as President Biden seeks to reinforce U.S. extended deterrence commitments to South Korea amid increasing threats from North Korea. The statements, according to Sullivan, will send a very clear and demonstrable signal of the U.S. credibility. Sullivan added that new deals will address Seoul-Washington's cyber cooperation, climate mitigation, foreign assistance, investment, and strengthening person-to-person ties. Seoul and Washington, for the first time ever, have simultaneously slapped independent sanctions on the same targets in the cyber sector. This is part of the latest efforts to cut off North Korea's source of funding for the regime's weapons programs through illegal cyber activities. Our Choi Soo-hyung reports.
South Korea and the United States on Monday decided together to impose independent sanctions on North Korean individual Shim Hyun-sop. Shim has been involved in supporting North Korea's illegal cyber activities to raise funds for the regime's nuclear and missile development. This is the first time that Seoul and Washington have both simultaneously imposed sanctions on the same individual in the cyber field. The measure was taken based on close cooperation between the two allies to effectively block North Korea's illegal cyber activities. Shim Hyun-sop is affiliated with the North Korea Kwangsun Banking Corporation, an organization that was subject to sanction by the UN Security Council in 2016. Shim is accused of creating anonymous accounts and money laundering to procure funds for North Korea's nuclear missile development. He laundered millions of dollars of illegal funds, including cryptocurrencies obtained by North Korean IT personnel who violated UN resolutions by residing overseas illegally and financially supported them, contributing to North Korea's illegal cyber activities and procurement of weapons of mass destruction. This is the sixth round of sanctions against North Korea under the Yoon administration. With this, the South Korean government has targeted 36 individuals and 41 institutions since October last year. Both South Korea and the U.S. have reduced damages by freezing and confiscating cryptocurrencies that North Korea has stolen. They have worked closely with the private sector to block the anonymous accounts of North Korean IT personnel and to recover some of their legal profits. According to Ministry of Foreign Affairs, South Korea will further strengthen cooperation with allied countries such as the U.S. and the private sector to block any future North Korea's illegal foreign currency earnings, including illegal cyber activities. Choi Soo-hyung, Arirang News.
Now, with the state visit underway, the scenes around the U.S. Capitol make it clear that President Yoon Suk-yeol is in town. Our Kim Do-yeon takes us around the city.
On Monday, South Korean flags were flying in parts of D.C. alongside the U.S. and District of Columbia flags. President Yoon Suk-yeol's state visit, the first one in 12 years for a South Korean president, has begun.
This is the second state visit hosted by President Biden, the first foreign leader from the Asia-Pacific. The South Korea-U.S. alliance is the most successful alliance in the world history. The two overcame much through economic development and democratization.
As previous South Korean leaders have in the past, President Yoon will be staying at the presidential guest house, also known as Blair House. You can see it is now under heavy security with a large South Korean flag on display, a reference to the occupants for the next 4 days. And it's not just the scenes in the vicinity of Pennsylvania Avenue that are special. To celebrate the milestone 70th anniversary of the two countries' alliance, South Korean government-run buildings have put up special pictures. At Embassy Row, Washington, D.C.'s Korean Culture Center is displaying an image of a South Korean soldier from 2023 and a U.S. soldier from 1953 holding flags side by side. Underneath, it reads freedom and solidarity, the core value that the two countries have formed their alliance on. Deep in the heart of D.C., the old Korean legation on Logan Circle is also showing a smaller version. According to an official at this Horse top office, these setups have been planned to remind the two countries of the past as well as to plan out a future together with the same spirit. The White House has also been busy preparing for the state dinner that follows the summit on Wednesday. For the main chef who will oversee the food served, the White House has chosen Edward Lee, a Korean-American chef. According to his recent interviews with local media, he is expected to merge Korean and American dishes to celebrate the alliance. As for the entertainment, there will be performances by Broadway stars including Norm Lewis. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News, Washington, D.C.
One of the many common interests and ambitions that South Korea and the U.S. share is the space race. Raising hopes that the Yoon-Biden summit will draw fresh cooperative plans for the space sector. Our Lee Dae-yeon has more.
Strengthening space cooperation is one of the centerpieces of the South Korea-U.S. summit. To expand into the space economy, South Korea's government has been long working with the U.S., the world's top nation in the space sector. And on Tuesday, President Yoon Suk-yeol will be visiting NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center, marking the third time a South Korean leader has visited a NASA center. During the visit, President Yoon will meet with Korean-American scientists and receive a briefing on the importance of space for addressing climate change. Citing a White House official, Reuters also reported that South Korea's Minister of Science and ICT Lee Jong-ho and NASA Deputy Administrator Pam Melroy will be signing a pact to boost bilateral cooperation in outer space. This will be a milestone for the two countries to strengthen studies in space telecommunication and lunar exploration, as well as Seoul's participation in NASA's Artemis program to return astronauts to the moon.
South Korea signed up to participate in a program to explore the moon and Mars about 2 years ago, but it was a belated contract, so the country has barely contributed to the program. So we expect the government to discuss ways to strengthen this partnership.
As President Yoon plans to establish a National Aeronautics Administration, or Korean version of NASA this year, reportedly more details on bilateral cooperation are set to come out. The Yoon administration has been showing increased ambition for making inroads into the space sector at a time when North Korea has been developing its first military spy satellite. Part of the South Korean business delegation visiting the U.S. expects the two countries to further discuss establishing a joint venture between Korea's pharmaceutical company Poryong and America's privately funded space infrastructure developer Axiom Space. Lee Dae-yeon, Arirang News.
Now, President Yoon's deep visit also includes a stop at the Korean War Veterans Memorial on Tuesday, joined by hundreds of veterans and service members. Our Choi Min-jung takes a look at the significance of the visit.
Presidents Yoon and Biden, joined by the First Ladies, are set to visit the Korean War Veterans Memorial in Washington on Tuesday. The memorial commemorates more than 30,000 Americans who sacrificed their lives during the Korean War. President Yoon plans to commemorate the sacrifices of the war veterans who devoted themselves to South Korea's freedom and peace, and talk about the history and meaning of the nation's alliance through the war. He is also expected to underline the importance of advancing the alliance into the future. The presidential office also said the leaders will celebrate the 70th anniversary of the Seoul-Washington alliance, together with the grandson of highly respected General Van Fleet and the daughter of Korean war hero General Baek Sun-yup, who have been invited as special guests. President Yoon is scheduled to hold a thank you lunch with 300 figures that represent the past, present, and future of the Seoul-Washington alliance. They include Korean War veterans, families of the bereaved, and service members of the United States Forces Korea. Yoon will also be awarding the Taeguk Order of Military Merit to 3 Americans who fought for South Korea in the Korean War. This is the highest decoration for military bravery and valor awarded by the South Korean government. The 3 awardees are retired Army Colonel Ralph Puckett, who led the 8th Army Ranger Company during the Battle for Hill 205, retired Navy Captain Elmer Royce Williams, known for his solo dogfight with 7 Soviet pilots, and late First Lieutenant in the Marines, Baldomero Lopez, who saved his subordinates' lives by smothering a hand grenade with his own body during the Incheon landing. The award will be handed to a nephew on behalf of the late Lieutenant Lopez. This state visit appears to put great emphasis on the two countries' security alliance, as this is the first time for a South Korean president to award a military order outside the country. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
The two allies have spent the last 70 years working together on common challenges and interests, namely security issues. Then what more to share in the coming years? Our Shin Se-byuk talked to experts.
The year 2023 marks the 70th anniversary of the ROK-U.S. alliance, which began in 1953 with the ceasefire of the Korean War, as well as the Mutual Defense Treaty. Over the past 7 decades, the alliance's core interest has centered around ensuring security on the Korean peninsula while countering continuous threats from North Korea, as well as the rise of China. One expert explains that the longevity of the alliance comes from a sense of need on both sides. The U.S. is able to lower the risk of major conflicts, while South Korea can promote peace in the region.
If there's an American presence in this part of the world, then that has the effect of tamping down, making it less likely that there will be conflict emerging among different countries. There's an American presence here that can have an effect that can promote both peace and democracy.
However, these days, the two allies are striving to broaden their cooperation beyond security. During the first Yoon-Biden summit in May last year, the two presidents agreed to upgrade their bilateral relations to a global comprehensive strategic alliance. This means the two allies are committed to further broadening their traditional security alliance to encompass other sectors such as the economy and tech. While the two are working together to deepen their partnership in the coming years, the same expert points out that South Korea may face a balancing act between the U.S. and China amid the growing geopolitical divide.
Politically, Korea has very close affinities with the U.S., yet geographically, of course, and historically, Korea has very strong connections with China that also continue in the economy. The efforts to navigate that balance are unending.
Though South Korea faces such a daunting task, the expert says the U.S. is only to become even more a valuable partner in line with South Korea's growing presence on the global stage.
As Korea's position in the world has changed, I think that has rendered South Korea to be much more of a partner with the United States in dealing with a lot of bigger global issues: environmental degradation and climate change, species extinction.
In the years to come, the partnership between the two countries will continue to evolve and deepen, not just in terms of traditional security issues, but also in tackling the world's most pressing challenges. 신세벽, 아리랑 뉴스.
As our Lee Dae-hyun reported earlier, space cooperation has been long pursued by both Seoul and Washington. And talks on this specific topic have been near the top of the agenda for the leaders of the two allies. For more, let's turn to Kang Sung-ju. He's a researcher at Gwacheon National Science Museum. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Good morning. First off, why is it that the two countries feel the need to put their heads together, again, cooperate in the field of space and the space industry? Why is it so much emphasis being put on space?
Some of the most important reasons include the space security and space security capabilities and strengthen their economic ties as well as diplomatic relations. And we cannot ignore the development of the new space technologies. Due to the increased risk of the North Korea, space security became major issues such as communications and surveillance. By cooperating in space security, the U.S. and South Korea can better protect their interest in space. And the space industry is a growing market for both countries, so this could lead to new jobs and economic growth in both countries, as well as the diplomatic relations build trust between two countries.
Right, and let's talk about how far we've come then. Now, what are some of the areas in the space field that South Korea can learn from the U.S., and also in what way are we ahead of the U.S.?
Since the U.S. has a very long history of developing every field of the space industry, South Korea can learn from the U.S.'s experience in spacecraft development to improve our own spacecraft development capabilities. Although the South Korea space launch vehicle is developed based on Russia's technology, there is still room for the further development through the technical exchanges with the U.S. And U.S. also can help South Korea for space exploration. South Korea is planning on the deep space exploration such as Moon and Mars. And U.S.'s experience on space exploration can help us to plan our own space exploration missions. In fact, there are not many areas where Korea is ahead of the U.S., especially in the space field. But based on our ability to do well, we can say that we are ahead in new fields such as polarized lunar surface observation and deep space internet, which was tested on the Danuri, our own lunar exploration, because we're the only one has tried it yet.
Right. Lots of cooperation expected because there's so many fields to be shared and given, right?
Right.
And also, President Yoon Suk-yeol's state visit also includes a visit to NASA Goddard Space Flight Center. Why do you think he's making time to make a visit there?
This visit to NASA demonstrates the importance of the space field among President Yoon's many political policies. During the summit of the two leaders last year, they expressed their determination to strengthen bilateral collaboration in space exploration, space technology, and the space industry. So the visit to NASA Goddard Space Flight Center is symbolic of a broadening cooperation in the space field and more specifically in the future, demonstrating Korea's commitment to space exploration, such as Korean Lunar Lander project, which is scheduled to launch in 2031. There are many projects that two countries should collaborate, such as Artemis project and developing KPS, which is Korean version of the GPS. So I think this visit is to show President Yoon's sincerity in space development.
Right. Lots of interesting and exciting projects that both countries can cooperate and collaborate, like you said.
Right.
All right. Thank you so much for your time and insight this morning.
Thank you.
Now, on the latest on Sudan, South Korea has successfully evacuated 28 of its nationals and some Japanese citizens from Sudan. The mission, codenamed Promise, saw evacuees travel by bus from Khartoum to Port Sudan, a journey that took all day through difficult terrain. South Korea had also dispatched military aircraft, special forces, and naval ships for the mission to ensure the safe passage out of Sudan. The evacuees arrived safely in Jeddah before flying to South Korea, and they're set to arrive this afternoon local time.
Good morning. Nationwide spring rain is soaking the entire country. The capital will see sprinkles, while Jeju Island could see up to 30 millimeters of rainfall into tonight. But that rain brings down the highs to the much cooler side, going down 3 to 7 degrees lower today, hovering in the low teens this afternoon, so it won't feel much different from wake-up temperatures. For a closer look, Seoul will see a high of just 14 degrees Celsius. Chuncheon, Daegu, Gwangju, Busan all getting up to just 13 degrees with good air quality nationwide. Well, there will be light passing rain tomorrow morning in central areas, then sunshine and warmth return toward the end of the work week. The weather outlook in Washington, D.C., where the South Korean president begins his official state visit on Tuesday. Mostly sunny skies becoming cloudier in the afternoon with balmy afternoon temperatures. With that in mind, here's a look at the international weather conditions.
That wraps up today's New Day at Arirang. Thanks for watching.
So, you want a special experience? What? Travel? Meet K-pop stars? Wow! Okay, tell me, who do you like? Of course I know them. Here's a tip. You can travel and meet K-pop stars. What? You don't trust me? Who do you take me for? Okay, come close. Closer. Simply K-pop contour. No need to thank me. Oh, you're watching Simply K-pop Contour. You're watching Arirang.
Lotte takes a new leap beyond its boundaries. Our change will lead to better lives for all. New Lotte, the power of a better world. New today, better tomorrow. Lotte.
type of news. New insights, new styles, new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Making news just for you. It's April 25th here in Seoul. I'm Yoon, and this is News Generation, where we make the news at Arirang's very own open studio. Every morning, we'll discuss top issues and latest current affairs affecting people in their 20s and 30s. Joining me in the studio is Choi Ji-hee.
Good morning, Ann.
And Kim Si-young.
Good morning, Ann.
And both are here to speak on behalf of people in their 20s and 30s. Like usual, we're going to start with our news feed, a news feed that covers different hashtags and news items that have been trending on social media over the past 24 hours. Now, South Korea's National Health Insurance Service on Monday found that more than 4,000 people made at least $41,000 a month outside of their regular income. They now have to pay an extra $150 in a separate health insurance premium because of how much they make. Now, this type of premium is slapped onto people who make an extra $15,000 a month or more, and the NHIS found the number of people who pay this premium doubled in 2022. Now, have you ever tried black seaweed, or kim? It's also called the black semiconductor of Korea. Now, well, from now on, try remembering it as kim, and that's what it's called in Korean. Though it's made from seaweed, kim tastes a bit different. Unlike seaweed, it's dry and usually used as sheets to roll or wrap rice with, such as the kind you can see with kimbap. And this is actually one of the most popular products in Korea to be exported. Last year alone, $620 million worth of exports were sold. And from next year, children and teenagers in Korea can ask the government to take down social media photos of them that were taken when they were younger. More specifically, embarrassing moments or pictures that were taken without them knowing and then uploaded. Now, this is to tackle sharenting, which describes parents oversharing things from their child's more intimate moments. And the Personal Information Protection Commission on Monday launched a pilot project under people aged 24 and under to first try deleting old posts from the past. Now, let's take a closer look at the third news item. From next year, the government will take down posts of people who were 18 or younger at the time the photos were taken and did not give their parents consent to upload pictures of them on social media. How? Well, for starters, to apply, you need to be under the age of 24. Then visit www.privacy.go.kr. From there, you will be matched to a government official who will guide you through the process and help you take down the post of concern. But this service isn't available yet because it's being tested. Currently, people under the age of 24 will only be able to erase posts that were uploaded a long time ago when they were young and they didn't have access to. Now, this seems to be a right step in the right direction for better privacy on social media, and officials are well aware that old posts can embarrass or even sabotage an individual's livelihood. So what are your thoughts on this, Xiang?
Yeah, I mean, sort of the Generation Z, we call the guys who were born after 1998, are exposed to social media and, you know, all sorts of electronic devices from a very young age. So we've been having smartphones from a very young age where we are used to uploading pictures of ourselves and have a discussion going on social media, which might increase the chance of some of the mistakes we might make on the online space as well. And I mean, if you think about it, there has been cases before. If you know a rock band back in the 90s called Nirvana,
right.
Their Nevermind album, which was a huge hit, it was a blue swimming pool type of album cover with a baby floating in it with some dollar bills and things like that.
Right.
And I think that was actually a lawsuit in the United States as well, as you might know.
Last year, Spencer Eldon, the baby on the cover of Nirvana's 1991 album, filed a lawsuit against the band saying that he did not give consent of having his photo taken. And it was, as you mentioned, a baby nude in a swimming pool. And he was only 4 months old at the time. So he's saying, I was not saying yes to this picture, and I'm not okay with this picture being used and for everyone to see. So I believe that privacy doesn't seem to have an age, right? You can be enlisted for your right to privacy whenever, regardless of how old you are. What do you think about this, and what do you think about the government's measures to regulate sharenting?
Well, I agree that privacy rights shouldn't have age limits, but I will understand if they do have age caps, because some people may take advantage of this to gain profit, maybe. But there's the age limit of 24. I mean, with the pilot program that the South Korean government has recently introduced, I think it's pretty reasonable, because by then we're all adults and we're able to think for ourselves and protect our own rights. And also at the same time, I'm very glad that our society is seeing this new movement regarding privacy rights of children, because I've always thought it was a huge problem in our society, in the Korean society in particular, that parents and children, they're not very independent of each other. You know, often parents believe that children are their possessions, but they're really not. They're individual entities. They have their own rights, and they have the right to protect and stand up for their own rights. So I welcome this move by the government.
Do you possibly have a picture you want to delete from the social media?
Of course, there's so many pictures.
So maybe the age gap should be more than 24,
it should
actually.
Be. I hope it's actually extended, and this year it's going to be done as a pilot project, but from next year it will kick off, and I hope our generation's opinions, like raising the age cap can be taken in for officials to consider. Now, moving on to our main discussion, for the first time in 12 years, South Korea's president flew to Washington, D.C. to meet his U.S. counterpart for a state visit. Now, the South Korea-U.S. summit will kick off tomorrow on April 26th, and Korean President Yoon will meet with U.S. leader Joe Biden to discuss a wide range of issues, mainly joint responses to North Korea's nuclear threat and partnerships to develop more supply chains for high-tech materials. In light of that summit, NewsGen this week is also going to look at the close connections between South Korea and the United States. To find out what exactly we'll be talking about on day one of the summit, take a look at the screen. The links between South Korea and the U.S. aren't limited to defense and industry. Now, it seems that K-pop is also connecting East and West. Just last week, K-pop girl group Blackpink headlined the U.S. music festival Coachella. BTS's member Suga recently released his single People Part 2. This debuted as #1 on the digital song charts on the American Billboard charts. K-dramas and K-movies have also paved the way for the two countries to build a stronger bond. The movie Parasite was the talk of the 2020 Oscars, winning several awards, including Best Picture. The 2021 Netflix series Squid Game became the first non-English program to win America's most prestigious TV awards, Best Lead Actor and Directing at the Emmys. And K-reality shows like Physical 100 have also captivated the American audience. Today, NewsGen looks at 3 questions. 1. How big of a role does K-culture play in bringing South Korea and the United States closer? 2. What makes K-culture so appealing to the American public? 3. How has K-culture promoted Korea's national image in the States? How has this benefited or affected Koreans living there? So today we'll be talking about K-culture, the glue that's helping bring Korea and the U.S. closer together. And the two countries' cultural bond actually dates back to the 1950s, when the Korean public was able to listen to American music like pop and jazz on the American Forces radio channel. It was only in the 90s when Korea started sending its music and movies abroad, and Korea hit jackpot with its cultural exports from 2012 with Psy's Gangnam Style. And since then, we've seen many other artists, movies, and celebrities promote Korea's image and content across the United States. Now, Chi-hee, there's so many things to talk about when it comes to Korean culture, but I'd like to first focus on K-pop. So why don't you tell us the history of K-pop and how it became so big in the States?
Well, Korean pop and the idol culture, it seems new, but it's not something that newly emerged, because it dates back to the 1950s, like you said, after we signed the Mutual Defense Treaty with the United States. So back in the 1950s, there was this group called the Kim Sisters.
The Kim Sisters?
Yes. They were a Korean-born pop music trio who spoke no English, but they sang American songs in a very phonetic way, and they gained complete popularity in the United States. So they're deemed as the first Korean singers, groups, to have even achieved appearing in the Billboard chart for the first time.
Really?
Yes, that's right. So they really laid the groundwork for today's K-pop superstars.
Definitely. But considering that they didn't know how to speak English, they sound different from the K-pop stars we're seeing now.
True. So we can fast forward to the 1990s, and we have the famous Seotaeji and Boys.
Yes.
They are considered the K-pop group in Korea that are closely similar to the K-pop stars that we're seeing right now, and they really became the driving force for all the establishment of the 3 major entertainment companies in Korea: JYP, YG, and SM. They were all established in the 1990s, and we also have HOT, BoA, and Dongbang Shingi, who are considered the first generation K-pop stars. I'm sure we have have some fans here.
For sure. I love TVXQ.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, today I want to skip because there's so much to talk about.
There's so much to talk about.
Let's talk about our fangirling topic later. But anyway, so today K-pop grew so big in the United States to the point that BTS has the most #1 hits on Hot 100 chart of the Billboard this decade. And one of the band's members, Jimin, achieved the greatest success after going solo. We all know that. And of course, very recently on the 16th of this month, there was Coachella, and the headliners were
Blackpink.
Yes.
They were amazing there.
In your area.
Yes. Yeah, we have a Blink here. Now, Xiao, what about K-movies and dramas? They're pretty popular in this.
Oh yeah, hugely as well. You know, not only the US, but globally as well, the Korean cinema has taken the world by storm. So as you've mentioned in the VCR already, things like Squid Game TV show, you know, the actor Lee Jung-jae won the Outstanding Actor Award, the first as an Asian male in the world to win that type of Oscar.
Very proud moment to be Korean.
Very proud moment to be, very good time to be Korean indeed. As well as, you know, directors like Park Chan-wook with his film Old Boy, you know, breaking the scene into the world cinema with his movie Old Boy back in 2004, I think. As well as Bong Joon-ho with movies like Parasite. They've all been making a huge scene in the cultural area.
Definitely, and thanks to that, we've been seeing more Korean celebrities step foot into Hollywood, right?
Definitely.
So, Xiao, who was the first one there, and who are some we might be seeing on the silver screen soon?
Right, I mean, if we're going to take it back all the way to the first one, I would say Philip Ahn, back in the 1930s, was a Korean-American actor who took a lot of roles. I think he has about 180 credits under his title as well. And he was actually the son of a Korean independence activist called An Chang-ho. Very famous, you all know, we all learned it during history classes as well. And afterwards, of course, we've seen Korean celebrities like Rain, Jung Ji-hoon, Lee Byung-hun making the scene with their Speed Racer, was it, and G.I. Joe. We also saw Ma Dong-seok, the big armed guy in Marvel's Eternals for Gilgamesh, playing the role of Gilgamesh. We also saw Bae-doo-na, which is also one of my favorites as well. Bae-doo-na is also a favorite of what are two of my favorite directors, Wachowski brothers, well, they're sisters now, so Wachowski sisters. So Bae-doo-na has been taking a lot of credits for that. As well as I think Lee Jung-jae is going to be in the new Star Wars film. And tell us about your favorite.
Yes, I cannot wait to say this, but Park Seo-joon. He's going to be on the Marvels this year. So
there we are.
The line continues on.
But
another important aspect of Korean culture is its food. How big is K-food in the States right now?
Well, first of all, as a foodie and a lover of K-pop food, K-food. Yes. We love K-pop. I love K-pop and the food. I'm really glad that it's gaining a lot of popularity, not only just worldwide, but especially in the United States as well. Videos and photos of Korean celebrities in particular having their Korean food and even making some of the cuisine or something like kimchi.
Yeah, Cardi B making kimchi.
Yes,
as well.
Those have gone viral, and they're really contributing to the increase of popularity of K-food among Americans. And the most famous and popular K-food would be K-barbecue, right?
I love K-barbecue.
We all love our barbecues.
Big thing in the US.
It's a big thing, and it's not just that particular cuisine that they like, but they also like the experience of grilling the meat by themselves, and that's something that adds to the fun of eating this particular K-food. And I hear from my friends in the States saying that they see Korean restaurants and barbecue restaurants everywhere that they live in, so it's really easy to access and have their Korean food if they're having a craving too.
Right.
And also K-diet.
K-dieting, it's so important.
Exactly, it's very important. K-diet, the dietary plans are very different from the conventional dietary plans because they don't help you lose weight in a short period of time, but they're very balanced, nutritious, and delicious at the same time, which is why it's gaining a lot of popularity in the States as well.
Right, and a lot of K-pop stars share their own secrets of dieting, which allows fans to try it out themselves. Now, also, Korean fashion and beauty has taken the world by the storm. And because of all these different cultural aspects, a lot of people from America have stepped foot in Korea to tour around. We recently saw a lot of American students come to Korea too, right?
Yeah, I mean, Korean products and, especially beauty products have been breaking the scene, the market as well, with like sort of the natural dewy look.
Yes.
Like I guess you would have maybe right now.
Dewy look.
Yeah, the Korean makeup trends and things have been big in the YouTubers in America and all over the world as well. And following that, we've seen quite a few American tourists coming into South Korea as well. So last year, a report released by Korean Tourism Organization stated that by October, America was the #1 tourist intake to South Korea from all over the world. And following that, we also had 105 high school students from New York's Democracy Prep Public School visit Korea as a sort of a school trip, going to enjoying a bunch of different Korean cultures. They went to the KST, I think, the Korean Culture Center that you could experience K-pop dance moves, learn about the culture, about the cuisines and things like that. They also got to meet their peers in different Korean high schools and do a cultural exchange and get to know the generation from other countries better as well.
Yeah, and I wish more cultural exchange like that happens. And to find out more about what Korea and its culture has to offer to Americans, we're going to now hear from a millennial in Hawaii right after this. So we're now going to be hearing from a big K-pop fan living in Hawaii. It's Tiara Newton. Welcome, Tiara.
Hi, nice to meet you all.
Tiara.
Now, Tiara, I can't help but notice you already have a sign up there with one of your favorite K-pop stars. So why don't you first start us off by telling more about yourself, which K-pop group you like the most, and when you started listening to it?
Okay, well, I first got into K-pop in 2005. I originally watched Korean dramas starting in 1999, and it's when I watched Full House that I learned about B, about Rain, and that just kind of opened the whole world of K-pop. And from there, I fell into DBSK, and just went from there, big bang, and now I am a super fan of Monsta X.
And did you make that sign yourself?
I did. There was one year I went to 3 of their concerts, so I brought that sign with me to each show.
That's really nice. The next question I'd like to ask you, though, is K-pop is so popular around the world. Why do you think so? And, thanks to K-pop, a lot of people fall in love with K-food, other parts of K-culture. Do you agree with this?
I do. I think the music is really different than what's coming out in America right now. It's really catchy. I know for the younger people out there that love to dance, learning those dances, I see it all the time on TikTok and Instagram. It's just really appealing. Not to mention the reality shows, seeing your idols on it and how they interact with each other. It's like getting to know them personally.
Right, and because of K-pop, you get more access to K-food, K-dramas, and other elements of K-culture, right? A lot of Ks right there.
Yes. Yeah, I think like you mentioned, the music and the dances, they're very catchy and easy to follow, which is why they're very viral online as well. And like Yoon said, about K-food and K-dramas, are there any places you can enjoy these foods and dramas and other K-pop stuff in the States?
Yes, so actually right now I'm in San Diego, and there are a lot of Korean restaurants down here. There's Korean supermarkets. You can go to Noraebang, you can get KBBQ, you can get bingsu. There's so much that you can get out here.
Yeah, I mean, so do you enjoy, you're a big fan of Korean foods as well? Do you also, I mean, because I guess social media is a big aspect of sort of pushing these Korean culture out as well. I think the point is the younger generation really fell in love with the Korean culture and produces all these content that could further promote K-culture by itself. I mean, what do you think about that? And what are your personal experiences as well?
Yeah, well, for me personally, I get to learn about a lot of the new artists through social media. It's the end of the day. I don't have a lot of free time after work, so I'll just scroll through Instagram, and that's where I'm learning about new songs that are coming out. And of course, young people are on Instagram and TikTok all day. So I think it definitely helps to expose them to a lot of Korean culture.
Do you plan to visit Korea someday soon?
Yes, I would love to go back in the spring or the fall next year. I've never been to Jeju Island, so that's on my bucket list.
Fantastic. Wonderful.
All right. Well, we'll hope to see you here in Korea very soon. Thank you so much, Tiare.
Thank you, Tiare.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Like Tiare, there are a lot of global viewers out there who watch NewsGen who are interested in Korean culture, K-pop, K-music, a lot of things that start with K. Now we're gonna look at the screen to see what a few had to say. So we chose 3 of our viewers' comments and we asked what their favorite Korean cultural content are. Jack Thompson said, "My favorite K-drama was Iris. It had so much good action and was so intense." Benedict D said, "Favorite K-pop group is absolutely Girls' Generation because they're the greatest of all time. My favorite Korean food, I would say bulgogi for sure." Besby0124 said favorite Korean food, kimchi, bibimbap, japchae, bingsu, and etc. Now, there are a lot of things that our viewers seem to be interested when it comes to our culture, but I personally think that K-pop, K-dramas, and K-movies are a tip of an iceberg when it comes to what Korean culture has to offer.
Right.
What do you think about this, Chi? Which areas or things would you like to see from Korean culture be promoted more abroad?
Well, there are 2 areas that I want to see being more promoted, and you mentioned in your newsfeed kim, right?
Yes.
Dry seaweed. I'd like to see more agricultural products being promoted because unlike the K-pop, K-music, and K-dramas, it seems like they're not very promoted a lot. So I hope that good agricultural products, they can be known and recognized for their pronouns, their real names like Kim, a lot more.
And even rice.
Even rice
Korean
too.
rice is
Pop.
amazing. Yes, pop.
Yeah, exactly.
And lastly, Sheo, I think we briefly mentioned this. It's so proud to be Korean at this stage, right? So how proud are you to see K-culture take the American public by the storm?
I am so proud. I mean, it makes a whole difference. I mean, back in the days when I was in the UK as well, I mean, if I say I'm from Korea, most people will be like, "Oh, are you from North Korea?" Half jokingly, half thinking, "Oh, there must be, the North Koreans all over the world as well." And nowadays it's going to be more like, "Oh, I've seen Squid Game. Have you watched Squid Game? It's a new TV show. What can you recommend? Cinemas, movies. What songs do you know? I know this." Yeah, they'll be like, "Oh, I had tried this food. Oh, I know a good Korean restaurant down the street." And it's made a whole lot of difference, and not just for Koreans themselves, but I think the sort of Asian culture in general have come up for a new high and then being appreciated a bit more around the world as well.
And we'll be hopefully seeing more of that as earlier in the morning, President Yoon did secure a deal with Netflix, $1 billion deal as that is.
$2.5 billion for the next 4 years with
exactly.
Netflix. Yeah,
so we're going to be seeing a flourishing amount of K content hit the United States. Now, we'll be here every day from 9:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. Korea time, bringing you topics young people are talking about. Special thanks to Choi Ji-hee.
Always my pleasure.
And Kim Seong.
My pleasure as well.
And thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. We are
News Generation.